Hey, everybody. Happy Friday. It's September 20th already. And tomorrow I get to play Earth, Wind, and Fire, like I was talking about last week. It'll be the 21st of September. I had a few
Nice.
I had a few blank looks on that last week, but you know, um I'm glad you you
If you know,
know.
you know.
Yeah, glad you know. I see Alan is in the chat. Hey, Alan, thanks for the hello. Let's see. We've got Kamar and Matt and Rob and Dorothy and Charlie, one. Hey, Frank, haven't seen you in a while. Todd and Jan and Gail and Yedon, Lindsay, Emily. Hey, Emily. Glad to see you're here today. And John and Carol or Carell. Glad to see everyone here today. I like to every once in a while do a quick roll call. Just to welcome everybody to the show. And I'm sure we'll have more join because usually once that notice goes out that we're live, people will start to trickle in. All right, today we have Derek with us. We had a little last minute change. I had noted we were going to have someone from engineering, but unfortunately, they were sick at the last minute, and Derek jumped in to save the day. A little Mighty Mouse here. Gonna make you
It's
sing
all
"Here I
good.
Come to Save the Day."
Amy and I were miscommunicating on presenting this week anyway, and so I was more than happy to step in. I was kind of already planning on it, and we'll have a good conversation, so it'll be good.
Yeah, well, welcome
Hopefully,
back.
Amy will get to feeling better. Yeah, it's been a little bit since I've been in here, so hello again, everybody. I see some familiar names, and looking forward to a fun conversation. So it'll be good.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So we have our usual agenda today, but first of all, how's it been, Derek? It's been a little while since you've been here. Anything fun going on in your world? You doing anything interesting this weekend?
This weekend, I'm going to go help celebrate another Jump Cloudian's 50th birthday, which will be fun. It's always good to see other Jump Cloudians in person. And other than that, it's supposed to be lousy weather here for once in Denver. We've been in drought mode, so actually looking forward to some rain and maybe cook some chili con carne or something. So it'll be good.
We've had a lot of lousy weather, lots of rain and stuff. We had a little bit of a tropical cyclone earlier in the week, and so tons of rain. I'm actually seeing a tiny sliver of blue behind but they're white fluffy clouds, not dark clouds. So maybe we'll get
Some sunshine today.
something. Although that brings the warm weather back. We were having nice,
Yeah,
cool fall weather, and of course, we knew that was false fall. There's always a false fall in the south and just slightly above the south. So we're getting back to our 80-degree weather again, which really,
it'll be 90 degrees today in Denver, and then Sunday the high I think is like 55. So that'll feel great. We'll see.
yeah. If I could keep
I'm
it hovering around, 60, 65, that
yeah,
nice fall weather, I would take that.
yeah.
So, oh, I see Kelly and some others have joined us. Welcome to those who are just joining. All right, we've got a little bit in community today, just a couple. Sean has been back at his posting. He has Jump Cloud SSO and Cloudflare access policies, zero trust. He put that in best practices. So if that's something up your alley, go check that out. And Andrianka has a question about automating onboarding process from Jira tickets. So go check that out if you can help with that, because they had some questions there. And also, we just had a new episode of the Make Work Happen podcast come out on Tuesday. Very excited about that. We're having a lot of fun with the new podcast. And Austin Rotundo, who's also a customer, um, was on the pod, and he had a very hot take about status meetings. So go check that out. We're having a lot of fun with these, and they're short. They're only about 15 minutes long. They're just meant to be something that you can consume pretty easily while you're maybe having your lunch or something like that. So uh, nice and light. Okay. I don't have any extra product release info today. I think more will come a little bit later. So I'm actually going to go ahead and jump right to you, Derek, and have
Cool.
you tell us about the API keys and TTL features.
Let me get my materials pulled up here. There we go. Okay. So hello again, everybody. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Derek Johnson. I'm a principal product manager here at Jump Cloud. I've been here about 3 years. You guys have heard me come in and talk about things like dynamic groups and temporary elevated privileges, and other automation efforts that we have underway. We've got some really cool stuff coming. I'm excited about Q4 and Q1 and what we're working on from just a workflow perspective in general that we'll be sharing shortly. But today I'm on the platform experience team, and so that involves a lot of different things at Jump Cloud. And one of the areas that we focus on is the API experience. And so today I want to come in and talk about some work that we've completed on the API key lifecycle management. I'm going to talk about what the next phase of this effort looks like, and I'll do a quick demo on some of the capabilities that we've created. So to get us started, let's talk about the pain point and where we were. And so we were in an environment where API keys were assigned by an admin and lived forever with no rotation policies in place at all. And so this caused some concerns, rightfully so, that customers would have around unauthorized access, data breaches, loss of trust, and reputational damage, and compliance issues in general. And so we knew we could do better here, and we wanted to invest some time and effort here. And so the behavior that we saw out of this is admins were creating multiple aliases around admin accounts just to have API keys for the purposes that they needed them for, from an integration or an automation perspective. And so we wanted to go solve for some of these things. So we took a step back and we said, we want to really focus on the bigger picture here. And we knew we weren't going to do it all in one fell swoop, but we wanted to focus on more of a comprehensive governance process around the creation, usage, monitoring, and retirement of API keys. And so this first phase that I'm going to demo today, this is live. What I'll show you today is live in production for everyone. There's no limitations here. The main part is the TTL, but some other things that we've done in phase one is we've introduced an API prefix within, so it makes it easier for you to find it within code. We've also added DI events for API key creation and revocation, and I'll show you what those look like. We've also added some metadata within the admin manager views so that if you're managing a group of admins, you've got the ability to go in and see what the current API state is for that user. And then we've also added the capability of time to live for API keys and rotations. And so we'll demo that. But this is just kind of the first piece of this. We know that there's even more that we could do here that could provide even more value from the standpoint of how you want to use API keys. And so we need to get to service accounts. We're targeting right now a Q1 timeframe for that. We'll probably start this work next quarter, and we'll finish it sometime in Q1. But this is going to be all around creating and deleting service accounts specifically for APIs. It'll have the same rotation and time to live behavior that we're creating in phase one. And so you'll see those capabilities, and we'll also have the correct DI events beyond this. And so that's really what this step in the API life cycle is, we know in 2025 we want to invest even more in this space. And so when I get finished with the demo, we'll have a conversation around some of the things that we're working on next. And I'd love to hear ideas from this audience in terms of the things that you guys would like to see as well. So with that, I'm going to keep my fingers crossed that everything works out from a demo perspective. Let me zoom in and make this bigger. So I'm just logged into a test account, but this is in production. It's not any different than what you would see. And I'm going to go over here to the area where I manage myself as an admin. And so the first thing I want to show is the My API Key section. And this is really the meat of what we want to demo today, which is how I can basically create an expiration date for my API key when I rotate it. And so if I just go in here and I select 30 days, I say generate new API key, it's going to give me my API key once. From a best practice perspective, we know, we're only going to present this to you one time in a clear text way. So we encourage you to save it somewhere so that you can go back to it. But if you do run into trouble, you can come back and rotate your key again and get a new key and a new expiration date. And so you can see what that looks like. It's got my expiration date here of October 20th, 2024. And so I get out of this, and that's it. Like that, I've created a new API key that has that expiration on it. You will get an email when you come within, I believe it's 7 days. It may be 10, but I know you will get an email warning you that your API key is about to expire. So that's one part. The other part I want to show is if I'm managing a group of administrators, I'm going to go to my account. And so let's say I'm someone else and I want to go look at Derek's administrator account. I click here. You'll notice that, let me scroll down here under the API section, that I can see when Derek created his API key and when it expires. And so that's some good metadata that would be valuable to organizations that have multiple admins that they're using this for. So that's one area that I wanted to show. If I go over to the DI event section, you can see some of the events that have been created from me changing my API key just then. And so you can see that I have an API key revoked event. I've got an admin account update event, and I've got an admin API key created event. So you do have the ability to have that attestation on who has created keys when they expire and so on. So this is really the crux of what we wanted to demo today. Now, when we get, what I was hoping to be able to do, and I don't have the designs on me, but I wanted to be able to come in and show what those service account experience would look like as well. But that work is well underway, and again, we should complete it sometime in Q1. So, with that, Becky, I'd like to open it up to more of a conversation, and I'll seed it a little bit. We're coming up on 2025. I know we're still in Q3, but we're getting better and better at planning out the future here at JumpCloud. And so one of the things that we're talking about is what is the additional work that we want to do around the API experience. And so some themes that we're focused on. One is even going further down the service account path, we know we want to be able to provide custom roles within the context of service accounts. So giving you the ability to limit what that service account can and cannot access from a scope perspective within JumpCloud. Just given what we've heard from customers in terms of what you're trying to do by leveraging our APIs. So that's one thing. Another theme that we're focused on is there's a lot that we can do to make our documentation better. There always is, but there's especially a lot of low-hanging fruit here. And so I'm working with a group of tech writers and the architects to talk about what we want to do there and what we can improve in terms of contextual documentation. I know that's always a challenge. You guys have seen me come in and talk about things like temporary elevated privileges, and we needed to provide more context around the API docs in order to make you successful in that environment. And so we did that in the form of community blogs and additional documentation on the support doc side, as an example. But there's things that we could do within the API docs themselves that we want to go focus on in 2025. But I'd love to hear other ideas of what you guys think are areas that you'd like to see us focus on from an API standpoint. There's ideas out there, and it can be
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah, I'm sure there are. I'd say just we'll give people a moment
Yeah,
to think about that because I know we have opinionated people
yeah.
in the chat
I'm
here.
always fascinated to see what people are doing
Hmm.
with our APIs and how creative they've become. I love nothing more than to see a community blog where someone has shared, this piece of automation or this integration or, whatever the use case is that you're trying to solve for. It blows my mind what people can come up with sometimes in terms of what they're trying to solve for. Um, that's just near and dear to my heart because so much of my day-to-day focus is automation and what are the common tasks that we want to, not just from an API standpoint, but we want to build in the product to make it easier for you. So
Yeah, because you never know what other software people are using and integrating that maybe we didn't know about or didn't think about. So they might be using APIs for that, and so could be a really interesting use case of some sort. So they're starting to roll in a little bit. So Kelly says, as a person who has embarked on many wild goose chases in Microsoft
yeah,
documentation, we rename and redesign every 18 months. I'm thrilled to hear someone cares about accuracy. So thank
and
you, Kelly.
it's not just accuracy here like that we're after. Um, I struggle because of the way that we write our docs. We rely so much on automation to write our docs that we need to take that extra step. We have a complex platform, and we need to take that extra step and provide context on how certain endpoints are meant to work together to solve for certain use cases. And that's really what I want to see us go focus on in 2025, because I fully recognize that our current docs need help in that way.
And Rob was playing off of that and saying PayPal integration documentation has entered the chat. So I guess that is as complex as Microsoft or maybe worse. So
Yeah,
I'm not sure. We do have a couple of questions that have popped
yeah,
up in there and trying to get that on screen there. So Kelly's asking about API access across an entire MTP. Now that's really interesting. And I could see where, for those that manage a lot of accounts,
yeah.
that could be really helpful.
Right. Like right now, everything I just showed you is at the child level or the direct level. It's not at the MTP level. And so that's an area that we could go focus on in 2025. I'm curious, is that always like, do you want the same level of scope and granularity within the MTP experience around your APIs? So like, would you want a service account that runs across all the child accounts in that scenario? Um, I think there's a lot that we could go do in that space. I just would want to understand exactly how you would envision or want to operate in that environment. Like
Yeah,
what
and
would be
also
so
yeah, and also security as well. Like being very conscious of security and how that would work if you're doing it across an entire MTP and how would you manage that?
yep, yep.
Let's see. Next one. If you have an API key per application base with limit for read write, would be will be great, but the service account is okay as well.
Mhm, mhm. I want to get to a place where that service account, like it was kind of what I was talking about a second ago, is you got control over that service account with limitations to read only, to limitations to read and write, limitations to read and write within specific contexts of the platform, and really focus on the security component of that, and really make it to where it's you're only granting the access that's needed by that service account. So I think that's an area that we're going to go focus on. So
And next, what are the options for expiration on keys? Can you, for example, set a low access read only key to never expire?
yeah, so one of the things that we've done in our current TTL is we've given you a drop down with, I think it's 30, 60, 90 days. You can set a custom date or you can let it live forever. So you still got that live forever capability. So when we get to something like service account scopes or service account roles, you could basically do a low access read only key that never expires. So you would have that capability. We would give you the option of what you want it to be. So
Well,
that
that's
fits the vision. Yeah.
good to have the extra control there. So you can leave it if you need to.
Yep.
So going back to other comments. Oh, this comment from Rob is talking about back to the PayPal documentation. Their entire WooCommerce WordPress plugin sandbox mode is Borkin. And I mean broken, but I kind of like Borkin. Borka, Borka, Bork. You're turning into Swedish chef territory there,
That's Swedish.
Rob. And then Kelly is saying, I'm only just getting started with APIs in any capacity, so I don't have specifics on that yet.
Yep.
But she says there are some things I do that would be great to have across all the tenants, but I'm sure there are cases where it's a terrible idea. Yeah, I think Kelly, what I was thinking of security wise is just, if someone does get a hold of some credentials, then they've got access across all the clients, then that becomes, a
Yeah.
much bigger concern about having access to all that data. So I think you just have to be extra careful
Mhm.
thinking through what you're doing and who you're giving access to and how you would lock that down even more carefully. So yeah, I think you're right. It's kinda there would be some things that would be great, and then other cases where it would be a terrible idea. So I think if you set up that account to have access to certain things, like maybe a little bit of billing, maybe a little bit of, um, being able to run reports and things like that, but maybe not adding admins, you know, things like that.
I could see though where it would where keeping security in mind, I could still see where it would be helpful for you to have a single API key for a script or an application that you've written that you want to implement across all of your clients. And so that's a real use case, and we just want to be cautious there, and we want to help make sure we give you the tools to make sure it's secure. So.
Yeah,
I
it
think it would
would
be
be
good to have like a Rob McGrath or Suba come in and kind of talk a little bit more. They have so much more context around the MTP space
yeah.
that I think we could have a really good conversation around what would best practices look like in that situation and where we want to go. So
Totally. Rob was just here last week, but we were
uh,
talking about device lists. So
yeah,
I have to have him back specifically for
yeah,
stuff like that.
Rob's awesome.
So use the API key for script to install the JC agent and bind in the same time. This script for outsource team who don't have admin portal access.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great example. Um, and that would be a great example for doing that across
Mhm.
um, across clients in the
Yeah,
MTP as well, or setting up a very generic user group or dynamic groups or something like that. So absolutely. That's a good example. So thank you
yeah, I
for.
like that one too. Mm.
Let's see. Chris says, any thoughts on providing an officially supported Microsoft Power Automate connector?
Yes, well, not yes specifically to that, but I'll say something about connectors in general. In a lot of different contexts within Jump Cloud, like you've already got connectors from an SSO standpoint, but with the work that Serhat's doing and Mustafa are doing from a SaaS management standpoint, which I'm sure they've come in and talked before, and the work that we know we need to go do from a notification perspective. We've got a lot of things, a lot of areas that we're investing that would leverage what I would call first class citizen connectors for things like a Microsoft Power Automate connector. Other things that come to mind are like Jira and Slack. When we start to really get into alerting and we start to really get into some of the workflow use cases that we're focused on, you're going to see us focus more on first class citizen connectors for different tools that you leverage. And so the example that I'll throw out that I'm most familiar with is in Q4, we're going to have a request approval experience around an end user being able to make requests. It flow through a workflow that's configured by the admin, and there be an approval process, all within product and all that you can leverage via API. One of the things that we won't have right away is a true connector into Jira, which we know we need because so many customers use Jira as their ticketing system and would want to integrate that data into their ticketing system. And so I'll come at a later point in time and talk more about the use case and when we get closer to delivery. But the reason I bring that up is it shows you we know we need to go build these connectors for various purposes, and I think you'll see that over time, and you'll see not just connectors for SSO, you'll see connectors for integration purposes in general. So stay tuned.
I love the stay tuned part. It
Yeah.
means more to come. More to come.
No, there's so many cool things that we have in the hopper that are coming that um, it's there's some really neat things that we've been working on that I'm very excited about. And I'm excited about 2025 too. Like we're going to keep going down some of these paths that we know can improve this audience's lives and just make a better product, make you guys more efficient, give you more tools, give you more visibility. There's so many areas that we're focused on. So
I'm going to throw this up there before I move to other comments. Kelly, promising to come back and hang out with the peanut gallery is a pretty bold commitment, Derek.
it's
But
all good.
Kelly, I mean, he's been here before and he is back. So uh I think he's kind of used to it by now and he might even like it. So
Yeah. I
I think we've
disappear from
already.
time to time. I go into my little hole and I go work on things and then I come back out. But um, I'll definitely be back.
I, I think we've got him. Let's see. I think this is where I left off. So Kelly says when she learns more and bumps up against limitation, she'll let us know, which I think is awesome. And we're already getting people are talking about sharing scripts and everything, which I think is cool. So I shared the link to or I shared that we have a script repo and shared the link in the comments. So we love having people share stuff like that that's useful, because I think it helps everyone when you're able to do that. Like what I shared earlier, Sean and Jurgen are a couple of our folks that do a lot of sharing F scripts. And that's a lot of fun to get to see people ask questions and find them useful. So, but we love it even more when community members come out and do that because I just love to see you all help each other. Rob says, stay tuned. Same jump channel, same jump time. Jump,
Yep.
jump, everybody jump. Um, yeah, not playing the actual song. No royalties or
Maybe
anything
not the
like that.
crisscross.
I don't have the I on Spotify. Okay, so first of all, I went to the salon and they were playing like an 80s, 90s hip hop playlist. And the very last song as I walked out was No Diggity. So for fun, I went to Spotify and just look, said play No Diggity because I wanted to see where the playlist would go from there. And it
Uh-huh.
was awesome. It was, back to, my days in the 90s of hearing all the great hip hop. I mean, it had, besides Blackstreet, it had so many things. And yes, that's probably one of the reasons why I have Jump Jump
Uh-huh.
in my head from then. But it had In Vogue, and it had SWV, and it had Snoop and Dr. Dre and Jay-Z, and it just went all over the place, but it was very awesome. So definitely. Oh, Rob's saying he doesn't, he's not part of the peanut gallery.
It's cashews. Yep.
I
I like
prefer hazelnuts and almonds myself.
I'm a
So
pistachio guy. I like pistachio.
my
But I like
youngest,
cashews
yeah,
are good.
yeah, my youngest likes cashews. I like pistachios pretty good. I kind of like them better when they're already shelled, but I actually like them when they're shelled too, because then I will eat fewer of
Fewer
them.
of them.
Yeah, because it takes work. It's like sunflower seeds. If you get them in shell, then you have to work for them.
I even like that artificial pistachio flavoring that they put in ice cream and gelato and stuff. Like
Oh,
crazy enough. Like green pistachio ice cream.
I
Like
haven't had that in a while, but um, I had someone I knew that used to make like the old style, like one of those desserts that I would have the pistachios and like pistachio flavored jello, I think,
yeah,
and then the whipped cream and everything. I forget what it was called. Um,
it was probably called a salad of something. They like to call Jello salad back in those days.
um, yeah, it was called oh shoot. It wasn't just a salad though. It was like a particular ambrosia.
Oh
I
yeah, yeah,
think
yeah.
it was called ambrosia.
It's a true Southern salad right there.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Kelly. One of us, one of us. And now Kelly has crisscross stuck in her head. So you're
Uh,
welcome. You are welcome. I'll think of some other songs too.
just
Um,
don't start wearing your pants backwards.
Rob was saying something about I don't. I never did. That was too that would have been too uncomfortable. Way too uncomfortable. But I think that, on if we could, of course, royalties and all that, which is why it's hard to license these things. But yeah, I think we ought to figure out a way to play that for like in between things, for like a conference or something. Um, oh, speaking of that, stay tuned for information about a potential something. Not in person, but we'll talk more. I'm just shh. Something's
Man,
coming
that's a
soon.
tease right there. Oh, that was good. I think I know what you're talking about, but
I- I'm just saying, pay attention in the next few months. And Kelly's going to be right. Oh, you're going to play Weird Al and start rewriting some things to. All right. I can't wait to hear that, Kelly, and see what you got going. All right. We're going to have some sharing in the Slack. And let us know if it's okay that once you do that, if it's okay for us to share in the community as well, because in Slack it will. go away after 90 days. So Sukithit, if you would let us know if that would be okay for us to share in the repo in the community so that we can save it later for other people too. Oh, now we're talking more about food again. Pistachio pesto instead of pine nuts.
Ah,
Mmm, that sounds good. Now I have done pesto with I'm trying to remember what. Oh, I think with spinach instead of
yeah,
basil and stuff
yeah.
like that, but hmm,
I have a
very
lot of
good.
basil in the garden still, so that may be in my weekend plans.
It's a good idea. I mean, you can substitute all kinds of different nuts if you don't have pine nuts
Mhm.
on hand. So, aha, Charles came up with the same answer, ambrosia. It just took me, I haven't had it or thought about it in so long that it took me a little bit. I had to scroll back in my brain for quite a while there. So, Charles says, I love a good potential something. I'm not sure whether that is about the scripts or the stuff we're talking about, or whether that's food. I guess it could be
I think he
either
was
of those.
referring to the tease of something coming up.
Ah, could be. I wasn't
Yeah.
sure. I mean, we've been talking about so many things. It could be any and all of those.
Or,
Oh,
I
see,
love how
now
this
we've
has
got,
kind of turned into a food conversation, and this is right up my alley.
yeah. Well, here on my side of the world, it is lunchtime, so we're ooh, chocolate and pistachio and cherry. Oh, Kelly. That
Uh-huh.
sounds yummy. The other day, I went to oh it's a place, Pier 1
Uh-huh.
or no, the
Here one was a
not
good.
Pier 1. It's the food place that so you can buy some furniture stuff, but they also have
IKEA.
no, no, no. It's not. It's I'll think of it in a second. Cost Plus World Market. Emily, see, you knew where I was headed with
Um,
that World
yeah.
Market, where they have like the all the world
Yeah.
weird food and stuff. And I saw Tim Tams, and I haven't
Ah,
had those in a long time. And then I bought just one single packet, and that was a mistake. The dark chocolate ones. That was a mistake because I forgot how much I like them. And then I'm going, surely some of the grocery stores carry it, so I don't have to go all the way back to World Market because it's, yeah, 15 minutes away. So I did find them at a one of the grocery stores. Not all of them carry them, but some of them have like a European section. And yeah, speaking of food and fun, they're tasty.
yep.
So I have to be careful about that. Walnuts, cashews. Oh yeah, I guess that, yeah, there's so many of those you could put in your pesto. See? I was thinking I haven't tried it with hazelnuts. I don't know whether that would
Mm,
could be, maybe.
maybe.
Maybe. Yes, Charles was referring to the not in person something. Yeah, and Kelly says the same thing. Mystery not in person thingy. Well, that's all I can say for now. It's always
How we always veer off into good topic.
we do. We always veer off. Yes, pasta. We almost always talk about coffee kind of beforehand. And then, yes, in the last few ones, we have talked about kringles, which are like a Danish
Yes,
big round pastry with stuff in the
Trader Joe's
middle.
makes an amazing Kringle.
They get it from Racine, Wisconsin, O&H bakery. in racing because we were talking about that just recently. They're amazing. They only carry them a couple of times a year, but we were also talking about barbecue. I'm missing Phil's barbecue in San Diego, even though I live in North Carolina. And yes, we have a lot of barbecue, but I lived in San Diego so long that Phil's was just really good. They had this sweet, spicy sauce that was amazing. So,
I have a barbecue story. So I grew up in Texas. I know my way around Texas barbecue. And I lived in Austin for 23 years before I moved to Denver. There was a place that was maybe a mile from my house that was my barbecue place, and it was phenomenal. It was called Interstellar Barbecue, and it was up on the north side of Austin, like in the suburbs. And Texas Monthly, which is a magazine in Texas, does an annual barbecue list of the top barbecue restaurants in the state. And lo and behold, one year, Interstellar was number 2 on that list.
oh
You
no.
could no longer go to Interstellar and not wait in line for more than an hour and a half, and they typically sold out very quickly.
Oh,
And I
I
knew
hate it
these
when that
these were my
happens.
people. This was my family. This these I would see these people like once a week to go eat barbecue. And when I would go, they'd be like, "Where you been?" And I can't wait in line for an hour and a half every day. Like it just doesn't work. And people would
Mhm.
come all over to go eat barbecue there, and it was amazing barbecue. So,
I felt the same way about Phil's a lot of time because they were this tiny hole in the wall.
mm,
And they moved actually closer to where I lived, and they built this huge facility, and they still had lines out the door. But if you went into the bar side,
hey, sneak in.
um,
Yeah,
yeah, you could, and sometimes that was hard to find a place to eat too, but it was a lot shorter than waiting in the
yeah,
big line and waiting to get called up and everything. So you could go in, find a seat at the bar or along the windows, and they would come and take your order. And then you would, it was good for lunch because then you
yeah,
could get in and
yeah,
out a lot faster.
yeah,
But sometimes it was nice to take a bigger group and all go together and get in the big line and
yeah.
wait
And,
for
and
the,
that's typically what we did with Interstellar is we would make a party of it, and they would sell beer or they would had free beer in line. I would say it's beer. It was Lone Star beer, which is not really beer, but they would serve Lone Star beer for free in line, which made it a party and it was fun. So, but I do miss it. And living here in Denver has been challenging from a barbecue perspective. So,
oh, yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
And, I don't like South Carolina barbecue because it's mustardy, and I don't like
yeah.
vinegar barbecue either, so it's actually been harder here. Um, I'm probably gonna get hate mail from my North Carolina folks.
Oh, you will.
I had friends when I was in Austin, they took me to this place on the lake, um,
Hey, all
way out in the middle of nowhere, it felt like, because we drove for a while to get to it.
did they take you to Salt Lake out in Driftwood, maybe? Or did
It
they
was right
take
on
you?
it was right next to the lake, like, you could see the water and everything, so I don't think it wasn't Salt Lick.
I know what you're talking about. I can't remember the name of it. And it's good barbecue.
Yeah,
Um, it's weird in Austin. There's kind of what I would call more big party like entertainment. Like you take a big group of people there to entertain them versus the line experience.
yeah.
There are smaller places,
This
and
was
so
a big place,
yeah,
very family oriented, and
yeah.
I think they had a space for, like, entertainment and stuff, so
Mhm.
this was yeah, but it was
And
way
it's
further
good.
out, which, that way you wouldn't have to worry about the crowds except maybe on the weekend and
Yeah,
stuff like
yeah.
that.
It is a thing there. They base a day around it. So
I
mm.
like what Kelly is saying here about going back to hazelnuts come from Oregon. Um, I am mad about hazelnuts right now, though, because every time I try to go to Trader Joe's and get them, they only have the roasted ones, and I want just the raw
Yeah.
shelled, and I can't find them because I'm like, well, you have so many of these roasted. Why don't you just not roast some of them? But they only care like I can't find the regular ones, so I just want I don't want them roasted. I like them just plain. I think they taste better. I think the flavor's better that way. But I'm the same way with sunflower seeds too. I just want
Mm.
them plain unroasted, no salt. So, Rob's talking about your barbecue. Sounds like a local place in his town. They got rated in the top nationwide in Maxim. Absolute
Mm.
nightmare to get into the place for a solid year or two.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a diner in San Diego that was like that. Got featured on Guy Fieri's show,
Hmm.
Diners, Drive-ins, and Dives, and yeah, actually a couple different places on in San Diego had that happen. One was a diner, and one was a pizza place at the beach, and they just
Couldn't go there anymore.
mm-mm, not at all. I mean, it was already bad enough because it was at the beach, but then when he filmed a show there, it was 10 times worse.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, Charles has got one about Austin. Barbecue place outside of Austin in Dry County, so everyone would tailgate while they waited an
Yeah.
hour plus.
That sounds more like Salt Lick and Driftwood because in Driftwood you do have to take your own cooler beer, or whatever you want to drink, if it's alcohol to inside, and they let you, but you would see people tailgate, and then even out at Salt Lick they had, like a you could go play bocce ball, you could go. They had other like, horseshoes. They had other stuff that you could do while you were waiting for your table as well.
Oh,
So
cool.
that's what that is.
I know the place I went to, they had beer, but it was funny because they would serve it in cans and they would serve it in a paper bag.
Hmm. Yeah, old school.
Yeah.
And
So
a
that was
lot of
fun.
barbecue places, even when they're not in a dry county, don't serve beer in Texas. That they expect that you're going to bring your own, which is baffling to me because they can make so much more money if they sold beer there. But a lot of them choose not to, and they're fine with you bringing in your own stuff. And so that's pretty common even in counties that you're allowed to sell alcohol. I don't think they want to mess with the beer license or whatever they have to do to be able to get it. But
I don't know if we don't have any dry counties around me that I'm aware of, but um, everything is state controlled.
mhm,
So
mhm,
you can buy beer and wine at the grocery store, but anything
mhm,
harder than that, you have to buy it at the state control stores and they're closed on Sunday. And so after being in
yeah.
California for so many years where you could buy everything at Costco and at Walgreens and CVS and stuff, it was just weird to move here and have to go to a special store.
And see, I had the opposite. I grew up in Texas where everything was closed on Sunday, and it wasn't a controlled, it wasn't a state run store, but liquor stores were very different than a regular store. Like you could buy beer and wine in the grocery store, but you couldn't buy anything else. And then to move to Colorado and look around and go, wait a minute, I can go to the liquor store on Sunday.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. I grew up in Missouri where they still had blue laws when I was young. So they
yeah,
did have, like, you couldn't buy it
crazy.
after a certain time. It was closed on Sunday, or they couldn't sell
Even in
on
restaurants,
Sundays.
you couldn't buy beer, you couldn't buy any liquor for a while when I was younger on Sundays. And then it switched to after like noon you could buy.
Mhm.
It took forever.
Yeah, they finally repealed those
Yeah.
laws when I was a little bit older. So I don't know if there's any restriction at all now. Um, Rob lived in a place that had old hazelnut tree and two apple trees in the backyard. Glorious.
That would be
Oh
glorious.
yeah. That would be awesome. We had tons of walnut trees um, growing up. I mean, there's a ton of walnut trees in Missouri. So I grew up picking up a lot of walnuts, a
Yep.
lot. Oh, Charles says that's the place. Thank you. So you nailed it.
That's a cool place. It's fun.
I was um I was staying in downtown and I think there's another one near downtown, right? Or like a smaller Salt Lick.
Yeah, there is. There's one in downtown, but
Yeah, but
it's
I
not the same.
didn't go because I heard about the lines and everything, and so I didn't try it. I think I tried the one at the airport, but that's not anywhere
Yeah.
near as
And you see a lot of the rural, like a lot of the big name barbecue places are out, like in even outside of Austin by like an hour and a half, 2 hours. And so what they've done is they've like Cooper's is one of them. I think they're out northwest of Austin is where the main place is. But they have a place downtown and it's good. And it's probably better than the barbecue I can get here in Denver, but it's not the same as the Cooper's that's
yeah,
out. So
yeah, definitely. But I didn't want to wait in line. Even those were like an hour. So,
yeah.
you know, I just it wasn't I had limited time. So,
And everybody always talks about Franklin's in Austin, and they talk about the party and going to wait in line in Franklin's, and it's good.
yeah, I think Franklin's was the other one.
Good bar.
Come to Thailand.
Oh, I want
Easy to
that.
find. Yeah. I hear good things about the food
It's,
experience there. So,
it's on my list.
yes, absolutely. All right, so we've got just a little bit of time. There is one thing in IT news, and actually, it's not. Well, I think I saw an article in it, but this is just something I experienced. If you are on LinkedIn, they have turned on their AI for your posts and your data. It is on automatically, and you have to opt out.
Hmm.
So if you don't want your data used for AI training, then you need to go now and turn it off. And you go to settings and privacy, data privacy, and then data for generative AI improvement and toggle it to off. Um, Again, this is on by default. I didn't see any notices about that. They just did it. And depending on how you feel, there's one above it called social, economic, and workplace research. And you may or may not want to toggle that one off as well. Just, I'm seeing lots of people posting about it and, saying shame on you, LinkedIn, for doing that. It is kind of controversial for not giving people notice and then just, and by the way, even once you turn it off, what has already been used in training, too bad. You
Yeah,
can't uh, you can't easily get rid of that. But I'm still questioning whether or not in Europe, I know we don't have those protections in the US for the most part, but I'm still questioning whether in Europe that's even legal. And I don't know whether those of you in Europe, whether it's toggled on for you too, or whether they separated those audiences or not. But I don't see how that can, not a lawyer, but I know that there are a lot more restrictions in places that have GDPR in place. So I
hmm.
would love to hear if it's on for people in Europe and whether or not there's any violations there.
I just looked and it was on for me.
Yeah, I turned it
So
off
I did
earlier in
too.
the week when I found out about it. So I wanted to call that out here on the show. If you weren't aware of it, to definitely look at it, and if it bothers you, go turn that off. Um, Other news: CISA has added 5 known exploited vulnerabilities to their catalog. There's one for Apache HugeGraph server improper access control, Microsoft SQL Server reporting services remote code execution, Windows Task Scheduler privilege escalation, Oracle JDeveloper remote code execution, and Oracle WebLogic server remote code execution. So there's been a lot more, but they're calling these out because they have known exploited vulnerabilities that have been, yeah, used. The next one I chose, simply for the headline. This is from Ars Technica. Microsoft releases a new Windows app called Windows App for running Windows apps. Windows app replaces the Microsoft Remote Desktop on macOS, iOS, and Android. So, yeah, it's just allowing users to run Windows and apps instead of using remote desktops. So it's just a replacement. It was used to connect to a copy of Windows running on a remote computer or server, and they've made some updates there. So I just thought the title was funny. We'll have these in the show notes if you
Kind of a
want to go read
juxtaposition,
those more.
sort of.
What's that?
It's kind of a juxtaposition, sort of.
Yeah, the way they wrote the headline caught my eye, and I'm like, oh goodness. All right, now this isn't really IT news, but just a little bit of a geek out because if you are a Marvel fan and you watched any of WandaVision, you may know about Agatha. And Agatha all along just launched yesterday two episodes, or let's see, yes, no, day before yesterday, Wednesday, two new
Hmm.
episodes, and then I think they're gonna release weekly after that. And so I'm looking forward to that because I think Catherine Hahn is wonderful. She did a great job as Agatha in WandaVision, and this is going to be about her journeying with a group of other witches to try and recover her powers. So
Hmm.
I think that's going to be fun. They're traveling along the Witches Road, which apparently is fraught with challenges and scary things. So just in time for Halloween. And yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Oh, Kelly's saying more 90s hip hop throwback on the Windows app. Yo, dog, I heard you like Windows.
Um,
Oh yeah, Kelly, I saw something say that too. Response to LinkedIn training should just leave it on and just uh make nonsense posts for the entire month of September and then
right.
disable it. I would love to do that, but I think it would confuse everybody that I share things with. And since I work with a couple of nonprofits, I think that would, mm, I would
Mm.
love to do that though, because I could totally, I like how you say poo post instead of,
Uh-huh.
what
That's
the
good.
actual term is. That's a good, nice, PG version of that. So yeah, that would be fun to confuse it. And then one last one. This also caught my eye because I used to live in San Diego and I know a lot of people who work for Qualcomm. They are going to be laying off hundreds of workers in San Diego.
Mm.
Going to lay off 226 workers in San Diego later this year. So likely in November. It's just been reported by the San Diego Union Tribune. It affects employees at 16 facilities across San Diego. Uh, They have a cybersecurity presence, but it's unclear if the cybersecurity team is affected because they declined to say. But they make a lot of chips and other things, so that is really sad. And it's less than a year after they laid off more than 1,000
Mm.
workers during 2023. Oh, and by the way, during 2023, Qualcomm recorded 35.8 billion in annual revenue, and its CEO, Cristiano Amon, took home 23.5 million in total executive compensation.
Hmm.
Hmm. Hmm. I need to check with my friends and see if any of them got hit with this. They haven't said anything yet, but yeah, they're a big employer there in the area. So I just, it's been tough in tech. It's
Yep.
been tough in tech. I know a lot of people that have been
I
uh
have a lot of I have a lot of friends at Intel that have been there a while, and yeah,
and I heard IBM is doing that soon or just did, and I know Cisco did as well. So I mean this is about the time of the year where
yeah.
right
Let's
before the
stick together and
holidays
help.
and during the holidays.
Stick together and help each other.
Hmm. Yeah. Share on LinkedIn if you can make connections with people in another company and stuff like that. I think that always helps a lot. Broadcom did. They bought all these companies on the 3x renewal increase for VMware. Yeah. Broadcom has done that a lot of times where they buy up companies and then lay off a lot of people and or also raise prices on the renewals and things like that. Like Rob's saying, um, caught all those companies on the 3x renewal increase for VMware. That seems to be things I've heard about them more than once. Buy, lay people off, increase the prices. Huh. Charles says only 3 times? Lucky. All right, with that, we are at time. I'm really starving now, so thanks y'all
Yeah,
for that.
right.
Thanks a bunch, and we will see you next week. Thanks for joining us, and hope you have a great weekend all. And
Everybody, have
Derek,
a good
thanks
weekend.
again for
Yep,
joining us.
absolutely. It was a pleasure. See ya.
Bye all.